Check, check, check. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to the Backbone Podcast, where common sense still makes sense in a world that is sick and only getting sicker. And we're starting a little late tonight. I had some obligations after school today, so I had to start the podcast very late. But we are going to have our predictions for the Wildcard weekend. And the next 2 weeks, a lot of people believe, are the best 2 weeks in NFL football. And I tend to agree. The games are great. This playoff is the most evenly matched playoff I've ever seen. There are no more dominant teams. Well, they're at least not this year a dominant team at all. Both number one seeds are not dominant, to say the least. They don't have dominant quarterbacks. They don't have dominant defenses. They certainly don't have dominant offensive lines. They have, well, the Broncos have very solid coaching. The Seahawks do have a solid head coach. But, I mean, if they lose next week, would you be shocked? No. Now, there are no great teams in the NFL anymore. So the number one seeds used to be almost, especially in the NFC in the 1980s and 90s, were basically automatic to make the Super Bowl. That is not the case anymore. The teams are weaker. The coaching is worse. The coaching is terrible nowadays. So we have a very wide open field, and we have some newbies in the field. And we have some teams that we're used to being in the field, not in the field, namely the Chiefs, the Lions, teams that we expected to be there, the Ravens, teams that we expected to be here but aren't. And this leaves a wide open AFC and a very fun-filled AFC coming up. The NFC, I think the NFC is, the seeding may fool you, but I think the best team in the NFC is playing this weekend, and they're going to have the easiest of the matchups. Let's go over each one. We will start in the AFC. As you can see here, I have the scores, my predictions at least. We'll start with the Monday night game, which I think is the worst game of all of them. Texans, Pittsburgh. You know, a missed field goal at the end of regulation allowed the Steelers to backdoor into the playoffs by toppling the Ravens. At 10-7, I'd argue that the Steelers are probably the weakest of any of the teams in the AFC. Now, the Texans have a stellar defense. Their offense is, I mean, it seems like it's hitting their stride right now. I don't think this game is going to be entertaining at all. I'm going with the Texans in this one. I don't have much confidence in the Steelers really making this competitive at all. I've picked a lot of blowouts in this weekend, but I think the Texans Steeler game will be the most, let's say, matter of fact of the games this weekend. Well, on Monday at least. Let's go to Buffalo, Jacksonville. If there's any quarterback, if there's any player that has any type of pressure on him, it's Josh Allen. This is the year I would say he has to win or at least go to the Super Bowl, because he has no Mahomes in his way. He doesn't have the powerful Ravens in his way. Yes, they were dethroned by the Pats for the AFC East. Nobody cares about that. There's no, home field advantage really doesn't exist anymore. If there's a quarterback out there who must get to the Super Bowl and get that monkey off his back, it's Josh Allen, and it starts with the Jaguars. I like the Jaguars. I like the quarterback. I think he's just on a bad team. There are a lot of great games on the slate for this weekend. The Bills and Jaguars is probably one of my favorites of the bunch. The Bills, as I said, dethroned by the surprising, shocking Patriots. The Jaguars, under new leadership, made their way to the top of the AFC South, which is basically the SEC light. But I'm going with McDermott and Josh Allen, and I'm going by 2 touchdowns. They're going to come out guns a-blazing in this one. They're going to put up a lot of points. They're going to secure it. They're going to advance. 38-24. I don't think Jacksonville will know what hit them. And I think the Bills will march their way into the divisional round next week. Now, here's the game that a lot of people, I think, are misunderstanding here. Chargers and Patriots. The Patriots went from dead last in the AFC to 14 wins under Mike Vrabel, who is an excellent head coach. Excellent head coach. They experienced this remarkable turnaround on offense and on defense, especially with their dynamic quarterback, Drake May. His evolution as quarterback was the primary reason for their success, and he's for real. But he's not ready yet. The Chargers and Jesse Minter, their defensive coordinator, will come up with they will be in Drake May's face all game long. They will come up with a pressure-packed formula to rattle May. He will throw. I think he will throw picks. Remember, the Chargers were third in the league. I think they had about 19 interceptions this year. They were third in the league in interceptions. Foxborough is not the fortress it used to be. Harbaugh, as good as Vrabel is as a head coach, Harbaugh is a genius. And that means that the Chargers, I believe, head to Denver for the divisional round. I think they shock New England. And New England aren't ready yet. They're still very, very young. So this wouldn't be an upset. This would be like Pat Riley would say. It's the innocent climb. You make the playoffs, then you make that climb. Chargers 21, Pats 13. I think it'll be one of these punch in the gut, punch in the head type games. You know, they'll be swatting it out. I think the Chargers are a little tougher. Herbert is on his way to making that ascension to being the next great quarterback in the NFL. And, of course, he's got, to me, a genius at head coach in Harbaugh. And Harbaugh, listen, everywhere he goes, he wins. He turned the Chargers around from underachieving team to a team that's going to be very, very dangerous. And they will be very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous going into the playoffs and going into next year. Remember, they lost maybe the best left tackle in football in Alt. Lost him a long time ago. They've been ravaged with injuries. People talk about the job Shanahan's done with the 49ers with the injuries, and he should be coach of the year. Look at the injuries Harbaugh has had. His offensive line has been ravaged, and he's got them in the playoffs in a very, very tough division. All right, so that's the AFC. Let's go to the NFC. And a lot of people have been talking about the Bears, and the Bears are kind of like this team that everybody's falling in love with. Not me. This is the Saturday night game. NFC North Division rivalry game. Hopefully it snows. Hopefully the weather sucks. I don't know if it is or not, but let's hope for some drama from Mother Nature. That rivalry game, which should be more exciting, it will be more exciting than the earlier affairs. The Packers and Bears split the regular season matchups, which were both one-score games, with a decent amount of offensive production. I think this game, to just be like those, will be a knockaround fest. Do I think it'll be close? I think it'll be close for 3 quarters, but I think the Pack will pull it away. Again, I think the Bears are a year or 2 away. They've just started. They have a brilliant head coach who has a staff that's brilliant. They will coach this team up. This team will get wiser, a year under their belt in the playoffs. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. Their time is not now. Packers 31-14 over the Bears. Now, the most lopsided of all the games this week, and I predicted a big blowout. The Rams heading on the road to take on the Panthers. Just a few weeks ago, the Rams had a great shot at earning the NFC's top seed in the first round bye. Now they're the 5th seed, and they go up against a Panthers team that backed into the postseason, who are 8-9, under 500, which is totally unacceptable to have an under 500 team in the playoffs. I think that's bullshit. But what are you going to do? They win the division. I don't think this game will be remotely competitive. I think the Rams are going to come out. They're going to blow them out early. This game could be over by. I think this game will be over by the first quarter. I don't see the Rams struggling at all. They just have to worry about injuries. Don't get anybody hurt. 45-14, no problem for the Rams. And I think the Rams are going to be in the NFC Championship game, frankly. Now, the next game, Eagles and 49ers. I told you last week it was very hard for me to see the 49ers beating the Seahawks without Trent Williams. There's talk that he's playing. There's talk that he's not playing. He's a game day decision. If that's the talk, that means he's still hurt. He's 36 years old, 350 pounds, whatever the hell he is. If he has one leg, why have him out there? The 49ers offense cannot run the same way. They are a run-first, strictly run-first offense. If they can't get McCaffrey going on the ground, everything else fails. And the problem they have this week is they're going up against the best defensive coordinator in football, in Vic Fangio. He will take away McCaffrey, guaranteed. They will attack that left side of the offensive line, and they will make Brock Purdy's life miserable on Sunday afternoon. The Eagles definitely experienced some regression on the offensive side of the ball this year. There's no question about that. Even so, their top-notch defensive performance, led by Fangio, was more than enough to earn them back-to-back NFC East titles. With the 49ers, a 12-win wildcard team that somehow won that much despite all of the injuries they had. They were the most injury-filled roster in the NFL. And I don't normally do this because he's not my favorite, but I give Shanahan a lot of credit for the success this season. But in good conscience, and I'm not a betting person, but in good conscience, I don't feel I just don't see it. Even if Trent Williams does play, he's not close to 100%. He pulled the hamstring. Those things don't heal in 2 weeks, especially at his age. The Eagles will rise to the occasion in front of their hometown crowd. And I think the Eagles will advance. I hate to say it. I think it'll be close. I don't think the Niners will get blown out. I think the Eagles will put up 24. The Niners will put up 20. And my season will come to an end, and that'll be that. The 49er front office, not to make this a 49er thing, but the 49er front office has for years neglected building and rebuilding the offensive line. For years. And it's come back to bite them. So there's your picks. Now, I want to give you a live update. This is as incredible as it gets. I predicted Indiana to win anyway. They are right now rolling on Oregon. They are in the third quarter. And my goodness, they don't look like just a team to beat. They look like they're the team. They look like one of the best teams I've ever seen. Indiana are up right now in the third quarter, 42-7. It really doesn't look like anybody can stop these guys. They don't have the best talent in the country. That's Ohio State. Even though Ohio State they don't play to their potential. But Indiana looked like a team that has the best units. Their secondary is coached better than everybody else. Their front seven, their linebackers, their defensive line, their offensive line, every unit, and that's what football is. It's a game of units. Every unit just seems to be a well-oiled machine. There is no fuck-ups with this team. And Cignetti is coach of the decade. If he can do this in 2 years to do the job that he's done, Indiana was a fucking joke 3 years ago. Nobody talked about Indiana football. Nobody. To go from that to now this, and not Cinderella. These guys are not a Cinderella team. These guys are a fucking juggernaut. They're killing everybody. They're blowing people away. They look more dominant in the playoffs than they did it in the regular season. What they did to Bama last week, what they're doing to Oregon today. And frankly, to me, this is the national championship game. I don't think Miami had – listen, I like Miami. They play very hard. I don't think they have a shot in hell to win this game next week, the national championship game. Not even close. Not the way Indiana look right now. So with 7:55 left in the third quarter, 42-7. You got the Backbones 2 cents here. Please don't gamble. It's not worth losing your money over these fucking sports. There it is. So thanks again for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share. Remember, my friends, Satan is always busy. Be a man and have a backbone, because masculinity and common sense are worth standing up for. And just remember, if it ends in an ism, it's a mental disorder. Have a great week.